Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Z Show. Well, looky here. Adam Schiff, Schiffy Schiff, pencil neck, turtleneck, Schiffy Schiff. Let's see what he has to talk about today as this circus goes on. Let's see what he says. Even though he was talking to people in Russia and there was a fake one, he thought he got the real Russian people with, the drive-by meeting. They won't even talk about that. And where is the whistleblower? Well, let's hear what this knucklehead has to say in 3, 2, 1.
By our oath. The impeachment inquiry undertaken by the House of Representatives found that President Donald J. Trump abused his power and sought to cover it up with an unprecedented campaign of obstruction. He withheld hundreds of millions of U.S. dollars in vital military aid to Ukraine, a close ally at war with Russia, and withheld a coveted White House meeting critical to the Ukrainian leader's international legitimacy until Ukraine would commit to help.
All right, I had to stop this real quick. Mr. Schiff, when the Obama administration knew that Russia was going to attack Ukraine, the Obama administration did absolutely nothing. Only thing they said was rationings and blankets. Are you out of your mind? Well, all right, here we are, continuing.
President Trump cheat in the next election. President Trump put his own personal interests above the national interests, above our national security, and if not stopped, he will do it again. For that reason, he was impeached, and for that reason, the House managers will take the case to the Senate and to the American people. Because the appropriate remedy, indeed the only remedy, is the conviction and removal from office of President Donald Trump. I yield back.
Gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At this time, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, Mr. McCarthy.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Back when this national nightmare began, Speaker Pelosi laid bare her intentions and purely partisan agenda. She told her caucus that they needed to strike while the iron is hot. This was always an exercise in raw partisan politics. Contrary to the warnings of our founders, and over the last month, we saw the justification for running the fastest, thinnest, and weakest impeachment in American history crumble. Instead of sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate for trial, Speaker Pelosi held them hostage in a failed play to gain leverage that she did not and would never have. In terms of concessions, she got nothing. No control, no moral victories. In other words, another failed strategy. After a month of counterproductive and harmful delays, I have 3 questions for my friends on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats. What happened to impeachment being urgent? What happened to Congress being on the clock? What happened to saying the House would be derelict in our duty if we did not act immediately? These were all the assertions Democrats made over the past several months. I guess it turns out none of them are true. These delay tactics were self-serving, hypocritical, and discrediting. But they made an important admission. Some might even call it a concession. You proved a very big point. Democrats do not even believe their case was robust enough to win in a trial. Even the Speaker's allies admit the delays undermined their case. Some has gone as far as describing it as a failed strategy. These are those who are closest to her. Senator Feinstein, the senior Democrat from our state of California and the hometown senator of the Speaker, said, the longer it goes on, the less urgent it becomes. And Chairman Adam Smith, a confidant of the Speaker, said it was time to transmit the articles to the Senate. Before these statements were made last week, before the Speaker relented, They are significant because they were public and they were honest. I'm disappointed these individuals did not have the courage to stand by their initial comments. If impeachment was truly as urgent as Democrats claimed, the majority should not have waited for the Speaker to choose a political convenient time. Anyone could have recognized this ploy would not work. The House and the Senate are different institutions, and at this point in time, controlled by different parties. As James Madison wrote in the Federalist Papers, the purpose of bicameralism is to guard against the dangers of encroachment and to stop toxic resolutions from taking effect. We saw separation of powers prevail against an abuse of power, just as the Constitution intends. Impeachment case to force the Senate to change its rules is constitutionally and politically unheard of. Frankly, it's just ridiculous. In Article 1, Section 5, the Constitution clearly states, each House may determine the roles. The House may determine the roles of proceedings in the Senate. If anything, the Speaker's actions have only further persuaded members of the Senate that the evidence of impeachment was neither thorough nor satisfactory. But you know what? Let's be honest. This was never about persuasion. It was never about the rule of law. It was what Alexander Hamilton warned us. And just because of the animosity would demean the process of impeachment. And by selecting these particular batch of managers, the Speaker has further proven she's not interested in winning the minds, the hearts, or even following the Constitution. Let's take a look at the first three names Speaker Pelosi announced in her anticipated announcement earlier today. Chairman Schiff, a man who has already taken on the role of judge, jury, and fact witness throughout the entire House impeachment process. Chairman Adler, someone who campaigned for the chairmanship of the Judiciary Committee that's responsible for impeachment beginning as far back as December 2017, before you were even in the majority, on the notion that he would be the best person to lead the charge on potential impeachment against the president. You see, you get a chairmanship by your conference voting for you. You campaign for it. You put your best ideas out there of why you should be the chairman. In 2017, that was the campaign. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, a member who almost 2 years to this date voted in support of impeachment. You know, that was more than a year before the Ukraine call even took place. Those are just some of the managers. If you think about the members, there's people who were, on the day they were sworn in to this body, told those who supported him the greatest that they were going to impeach him. As I've said in the past, there's an issue with fairness. But instead of looking to the Senate, Speaker Pelosi should be looking within her own caucus. From the beginning, this investigation was marred by selective leaks to the media, a completely predetermined process. Yes, we've been through impeachment before, but it was much different. We believed in the rule of law back then, that we would face our accuser, that you could cross-examine, that the minority could actually ask for witnesses. The day that impeachment was asked to come forward, I sent a letter to the Speaker, laying out 10 items, none that were made up. You know what they were? The fair process we've always used in the past. The answer was no. Because they've been working on this for 2.5 years, they could not let fairness determine the outcome. Any other prosecutor would be disbarred for such blatant bias, especially if that prosecutor was a fact witness in the case. The reason for this impeachment is the same reason it's taken Democrats 30 days to send the articles to the Senate. Just spite. They wanted to stain the president's record without giving him a fair chance to clear his name. Last year, we saw House Democrats invert the burden of proof during their fair investigation. For every American watching, take for instance that this was your government. If you switched the burden of proof on you. We have a Congressman, Max Rose, characterized it this way. This new freshman of the majority. The president says he's innocent, so all we're saying is prove it. God forbid government accuses you of something as an average American, say you have to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
We just switched a fundamental belief as an American. But only in this house do we do that. This guilty and proven innocent mentality was an admission that impeachment was not about upholding justice or protecting the rule of law. Now Democrats have invented an even more destructive standard. You're guilty because they say so. Our founders feared this day. Alexander Hamilton warned us of this day. I had hoped this day would not come. I would hope those who uphold the Constitution would believe in the rule of law instead of the spite of the dislike of an individual.
All right, so yeah, this circus is continues. Wow. Thank you, Kevin McCarthy. Hopefully the Democrats are going to get beat badly in the House. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell. Yes. I gotta go, but a couple of things real quick. Please, 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 do not drink and drive. And please do not hang around the knuckleheads who do. You got to go.